Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Stargirl Season 2 review series. And today I am going to be talking about Episode 8, Summer School Chapter 8, which I've just finished watching, and we are hitting another home run once again with yet another fantastic episode from Stargirl Season 2. And Episode 8 I'm definitely putting in with Episode 6 and 7 as some of my favourite episodes of all time for the second season. Now, this was an amazing follow up to episode 7, which was mainly a spotlight episode which focused on Yolanda as she was dealing with the guilt of having killed Brainwave back in season 1 and just going on this emotional journey with her as we got to see things from her point of view, and we learned the shocking revelation that Brainwave was very much alive and trying to take over her body. So that was an amazing episode. Now, Yolanda in this episode was not seen, but she played a very big part because we see in this episode, due to the fact that she was overwhelmed with guilt, she's quit being Wildcat and she's quit being a member of the team. So she's essentially walked out. So that was quite a shocking moment. So she was nowhere to be seen in this episode, but I think we will definitely see her again before it's all said and done. Shade was nowhere to be seen either, but again, he's probably there somewhere hiding, so we will definitely see him at some point. Eclipso made a little shocking cameo, and he played quite a big part in this episode, even though we didn't really see much of him. He was in officially in his real form for about maybe one scene for about a couple of minutes. But as I said, episode 8 was amazing beyond words and really dark, really scary, at times very intense and very emotional as well. So this was definitely a great follow up to episode 7. So, with that all said, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 8, Summer School, chapter 8. So, this episode starts off with a woman driving up to Rick's house, and we see it's his teacher, Mrs. Woods, and she comes to apologize for accusing him of cheating and giving him college information. His uncle comes out and is hostile to her and then tosses the information, telling Rick he's going to end up in jail before he even makes it to college. Lovely. Later, Rick goes to the woods to take Grundy some food and breaks down. Now, Grundy has been living in the woods, and Rick's been going to see him and looking after him because he feels bad for, what happened in season 1. So they kind of started bonding a little bit, but there's a big twist to the whole Solomon Grundy situation, which I'll get into a little bit later on. So we see Rick is tired of giving everything and getting nothing back. As he starts to have a breakdown, we see Solomon Grundy appear out of nowhere. At Courtney's house, she tells her parents she's going to see Yolanda to apologize, but Pat tells her to give Yolanda some time. Mike suggests they help Yolanda by going after Eclipso. We then see the doorbell ring and Courtney finds a bag on the doorstep, and inside contains the Wildcat's costume. So this was a way of saying that Yolanda has officially quit the JSA and has retired the Wildcat's persona. Very sad moment. At Beth's house, Beth is continuing her work on Dr. Midnight's files where the goggles come to life. She puts them on and starts talking to Charles McNider. Turns out she's connecting to him because she has his original goggles. He's able to connect to them through the ones he is wearing. He's able to tell that he's in the shadow realm before they get disconnected. As she sits there thereafter, we then see a scary shot of Eclipso appearing on the computer screen. Oh boy, oh boy, scary stuff here or what? In the woods, Rick sits with Grundy while he eats and talks to him. He tells Grundy about the dog his uncle got once and was mistreating him, and how he took the dog and gave it to someone else. The family loved the dog, and a year later the once vicious dog was kind. He tells Grundy that maybe it's the same with him. We then see Grundy very non-verbally offers Rick an apple. Very weird seeing these two bonding, especially in season one. They try to kill each other, so very weird. Courtney takes the Wildcat costume back downstairs and checks on the cosmic staff. She tells the staff she wishes she could help it because it's her friend, causing it to light up very briefly. At Beth's house, her parents come to talk with her about the divorce. They tell her that when they first met, they fell in love at first sight, but after she was born, they decide to focus on her, and over time, they lost sight of each other. They're then telling her that she's the reason they're getting a divorce. Beth then starts to see worms emerge in her sandwich, which makes her freak out and she runs out of the room. Now, this scene was very good. Not so much the divorce side of things with Beth and her parents, but you knew watching this that something wasn't right, and you could feel the presence of Eclipso was in the room, and this was really good. Rick gets back to his car and hears a news report of yet another bear attack, and that the hunting club is going out into the woods to kill the bear. This doesn't sit well with Rick, so he runs back to the woods looking for Grundy. At the shop, Courtney comes to see Pat. She's named the staff Cosmo, says they need to do something because they can't just sit around and wait. Rick then calls Pat to tell him that Grundy needs their help, and Courtney and Pat head to the woods. Beth goes to Courtney's house, but no one is home. Instead, we see that creepy little boy who we saw at the beginning of season one re-emerge, and we know it's Eclipso. And he says his name is Bruce. He tells her she's a liar and a thief, and he has her goggles. He also tells her to come and get them. She follows him upstairs into Courtney's room. Beth figures out that Bruce is Eclipso, and he taunts her that telling her no one ever chose her for the JSA. He makes hurtful comments, and she calls him out on it, and he blows her back into the closet. Beth gets out of the closet, but where she emerges is not Courtney's room. We then see it's the original JSA headquarters where she's confronted by the original Starman, the original Owlman, and the original Wildcat. Eclipso tells her she's the wrong age and runs off laughing. We then see her chase after him. In the woods, Rick encounters a hunter who's been injured by something, presumably Grundy, and they claim he's hurt a 10-year-old child. Pat and Courtney continue looking but have not encountered Rick, Grundy, or any hunters, though they do hear Rick calling for Grundy after some gunshots were fired. Rick finds Grundy at the creek and the body of the girl is laying in the water. Rick asks Grundy if he killed her, and it seems that he did. Grundy flees and Rick goes after him, enraged. Pat and Courtney arrive, taking the girl out of the water, but luckily she's not dead. She's not even real. It's Rebecca McNider, and she opens her eyes and vanishes. Courtney then realizes this is all Eclipso's doing. Courtney blasts Rick with the staff to stop him from hurting Grundy, but it turns out it's not Grundy at all. He's been beating his uncle to a bloody pulp the entire time. Horrified, Rick rips off his hourglass and throws it to the floor and shatters it into 1,000 pieces. Rick chases Grundy back to the farm and confronts him, fighting the beast as 4th of July fireworks go off. Courtney and Pat run up as Rick is beating Grundy and scream at him to stop. Beth finds herself in Courtney's house with Eclipso still taunting her. He tells she's been hiding behind her smile her whole life and that she's just a scared little girl. Beth calls him out, asking him what he's afraid of, and Eclipso emerges out of the shadows in his true form. He tells her she's destined to be nothing. She grabs for the goggles and he catches her hand. Eclipso tries to get Beth to admit her fear and anger, but she resists. She realizes that he needs her to give in to her worst fear, and she refuses to. She tells him that she chooses herself, and she's proud of who she is. She gets the goggles on just as Eclipso moves to attack, and then we see Eclipso is gone. Very powerful scene. Really good. And, Beth doesn't really get a lot of credit. Beth always comes across as a bit of a goofball, but I really felt in this episode, especially in this moment with Eclipso, I really felt that she shined very strong. And I've come out of that scene with a newfound respect for the character, so I'm really looking forward to seeing, where she goes from here. Rick gets arrested for assaulting his uncle, and then we see the real Grundy appears from behind a silo and says quietly, "Friend." Beth is back in her home, and Dr. McNider tells her not to take off the goggles as they will help her see through Eclipso's manipulations. Handy. Beth accepts that she's the new Dr. Midnight and the goggles update the JSA database accordingly. Her parents come to see her and confirm that everything that's happened earlier was in fact a hallucination by Eclipso. She tells them that sometimes she feels like she's trying to be something she's not. Her mum tells her about dealing with being the first Doctor and she can be anything she wants to be. Barbara and Mike talk about how Rick thought he saw hunters and a dead child, and how his uncle is in critical condition, and then we see Rick is taken away to jail. Pat and Courtney went to try and see if they can help Rick in jail. Mike hugs Barbara while things outside start to get ominously very icy. And that's how we end episode 8. Excellent episode. Absolutely loved every second of it. Although we didn't see any of the guys in costume, didn't take away from the fact that this was still incredible, and yet this is definitely going down as yet another favourite episode of mine. And Beth, as I said, really shined in this episode and really proved that she deserves to be the new Dr. Midnight. And Eclipso, as I said a couple of editions back of this series, bringing everyone's worst fears to life was definitely something that the Scarecrow is famous for. So this was really good. So this was an amazing episode. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What did you think of episode 8? Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts on Eclipso's manipulations with Beth's worst fears? Did you enjoy that? And also, what about Eclipso playing on Rick? You know, making out that he was actually beating the hell out of Solomon Grundy, but it was actually his uncle. Did you think that was a good twist? And also, what about at the end? What was that all about with the ice? Is it possible that we could have seen the rise of a new Dr. Icicle? Who knows, really? And also, what's your thoughts on Wildcats quitting? Do you think we'll see Yolanda again? Or do you think this is still one of Eclipso's manipulations? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Stargirl Season 2 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 9, which I am really looking forward to for one reason, and one reason only. We are going to be seeing the return of Jay Garrick, who is going to be played once again by the one and only, the original Flash himself, John Wesley Shipp. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that and talking about it as well. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, thanks for listening.